Mikasa Sukasa. You Eddie, right?
Yeah.
Look like Eddie Guerrero, man. You like to watch wrestling?
Yep.
Have you ever watched wrestling? On weed? That's the way to see it, man! It's rock!
What up, world? It's your boy Physics, and you know what time it is. It is February 18th, 2022. Welcome to another WoW News Joint. Shout out to the whole WoW Nation up in here. Shout out to the homie Gruss. Thank you for being here. And so on today's episode of the WoW News Joint, we talk about Undertaker going into the Hall of Fame, updates on Cody and Stone Cold, and more right after this.
Really? This is my yard now. It doesn't matter
For our first segment of the day, the Phenom, the Undertaker, will be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Earlier this morning, WWE had breaking news saying that Undertaker will be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2022, as first reported by the New York Post. Now, WWE has also confirmed for the first time ever the WrestleMania Go Home edition of SmackDown in the Hall of Fame ceremony will air live on the same night from the same venue. And let's just break down the illustrious career of The Undertaker. He had the longest WrestleMania streak, which will probably never be broken. And if it is broken, I'm going to guarantee it won't be broken by another man. We have he was a 4-time WWF/WWE champion, 3-time World Heavyweight champion, WWF Hardcore champion, 6-time WWF World Tag Team champion, where he had 1 reign with Stone Cold Steve Austin, 2 reigns with Big Show, 1 with The Rock, and 2 with his brother of destruction, Kane. We also had the WCW Tag Team champion with Kane, and he was the Royal Rumble winner in 2007. Also, when it comes to PWI, they said he had the match of the year in 1998 versus Mankind in a Hell of a Cell match at King of the Ring. He had the match of the year in 2009 versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25. Match of the year the following year versus Shawn Michaels in a career versus streak match at WrestleMania 26, and a match of the year 2012 versus Triple H in a Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania 28. I don't think we need to say anything. The man is on my Mount Rushmore. I didn't get into wrestling. The first time I got into wrestling as a kid was because of the Undertaker. I was a huge fan of just the mystique of him and just seeing him. The first time I ever went to a WWE event, it was Brothers of Destruction versus DX. So I get to see Shawn Michaels, Triple H with China versus Kane and the Undertaker. And I remember just seeing the Undertaker for the first time. I got goosebumps. If you're in the chat, tell me what your favorite Undertaker moment is in his illustrious career. And if you're in the comments and you're watching this on a replay, tell me why you believe that he was always going to be a Hall of Famer, and also what your favorite match or favorite thing the Undertaker ever did. Now, let's move on to some updates for the things that happened with Cody Rhodes. Andrew Zarian mentioned on Real Live Pal that people on the WWE side were the ones who first contacted the media to tip them off of the story of Cody Rhodes leaving AEW. Zarian said the WWE guys were waving their WWE flag in victory over the news, and the celebratory tone was excessive given Cody has not signed with WWE. Well, I'm pretty sure he has signed by now, but I already knew that. I figured that WWE, they were like, hey, we have the EVP, we have the co-creator coming to WWE. They know money wise, he's not going to say no. So we know he's coming. So let's let the world know. Well, it was not surprised. Let's let the world know that things did not go well between him and Tony Khan, and that we are taking him. And we're going to make him a big deal so we can rub it in their face and we can go on from there and basically say, welcome AEW to the big leagues. You thought this is what you wanted, but it ain't what you wanted. Also, Sports Illustrated reported on Cody Rhodes say that Tony Khan taking over all the booking in AEW was an issue between them. Cody saw the role as a chance to pay homage to his father, Dusty Rhodes, as a booker while also further cementing his own legacy. Losing that opportunity, AEW hurt Rhodes more than any loss he suffered in the ring. That's also to go with the fact that someone told Andrew Zarian that Cody was particularly upset with the Forbes profile on Tony Khan, where Khan took all the credit for AEW's success, which is I would get a little peeved off as well because Khan wasn't there for All In. And as I stated last episode, before Cody Rhodes came into Bullet Club, Young Bucks, the Young Bucks, everybody else was not looking into the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, Adam Page. They were not looking into starting their own thing. It really looked like they were heading to WWE. Triple H went over there to get them, told them everything they had planned, basically had like a year and a half thing planned just for them. And the fact that Cody came sparked this idea between him and the Young Bucks of doing their own show in Chicago. All In happened with such a success that that's what got Tony Khan in. He wasn't there for that, but he came in later, gave them the funding that they needed to be where they needed to be, filled the void of TNT wanting to get him back in a wrestling game, and now we're here. But you didn't do it on your own. And that's where we're kind of getting into, and I kind of felt like this was going to happen. It's good being humble, but once you start doing things well and you start looking at yourself as a success when you never really had anything on your own, because that's what it seems like what Tony Khan is. Like his dad is the billionaire. He's not. He's a billionaire by proxy. He's not a billionaire from what he's done. He's a billionaire because his dad was what his dad is. And now this is his first thing where he's done, and he's going to take all credit for it. And it's going to rub people in the wrong way. And it's one of the reasons why I feel like in the future, don't be surprised if Kenny Omega jump ship. Don't be surprised at all. Gruss says, I hope Cody returns to see the AEW marks triggered. I mean, he already had to tell them to keep watching AEW because this past week's Dynamite was the worst ratings they've had since going over to TBS. So and then Cody had to be on he had to go online on Twitter and basically beg everybody to keep watching AEW. Because it seems some people have turned it off because they were Cody fans. But also in the news, Justin Rosario report reiterated that Cody's headed back to WWE and speculated he could start filming return vignettes at the Performance Center this weekend. Barasso's sources indicate that Brandy Rose is not expected to join her husband in WWE. I wouldn't be surprised if she just decides to take some time just for herself, and also they have a child. So with the amount of money coming in and he doesn't have to do a lot of stuff in the back, why not just relax and collect that WWE money? As Carlito said earlier, I think it was last night, where MVP and Carlito were together, and he basically told Carlito was like, let me pay for the drinks, and MVP was like, nah, man, I got that WWE money. I got it. Moving on, let's head to Stone Cold updates. After Matt Men's Andrew Zarian reported hearing rumblings that WWE hopes Stone Cold Steve Austin's WrestleMania 38 match wouldn't be a one-off. There's been speculation Austin could be looking for a Goldberg or Edge type deal where he works a handful of matches per year. Oh, wow. That's the only thing I can say to that news. Like, just the fact that Stone Cold might be wrestling, that's already crazy. Was even crazier is the fact that he might wrestle more than once. I really feel like if he is going to wrestle, and it sounds like if he does, it's going to be against Kevin Owens. It depends on how great that match is. I feel like if it's good and then he catches the bug and he feels like he could keep doing it, we will see him a lot more. And just the possibility of seeing Stone Cold a lot more at 57 years old is just crazy to me. And there's just when there's smoke, there's fire. There's just too much smoke going on right now for him not to be a part of this. But we will see. He will be at WrestleMania no matter what. But will he be at WrestleMania to be a wrestler? It's the thing we are about to find out. Now let's go to some quick hits. In her Elimination Chamber tag match with Naomi against Charlotte Flair and Sonya Deville, Ronda Rousey will have to wrestle with one arm tied behind her back. That's not a figurative speech. That's literally what they're about to do. PW Insider says the stipulation will be announced on Friday's pre-taped SmackDown. I guess this is what we're going to see tonight. So sorry I broke it to you, but yeah, she's going to wrestle with one arm. Pretty sure Sonya Deville's going to take that pin from a one arm Ronda Rousey. And hey, we're going from there. Gruss says we need Stone Cold versus Goldberg WrestleMania. It would work if Goldberg signs another contract, but what it sounds like now is this is his last contract happening on Saturday. So I doubt that's gonna happen. AEW has a working plan to bring in Buddy Matthews, formerly known as WWE's Buddy Murphy, according to Fightful Select. The site says several talents were told of the plan last month, and the rumor it looks like he will be joining Malachi's House of Black. Per Hugo Savinovich of Lucha Libre Online, WWE has fired Carlos Cabrera. He worked on the Spanish language commentary team for 29 years. And I mean, if you saw him, you would know who exactly he is. Anytime the table was broken, he was usually one taking the fall when the Spanish table got broken through. So it sucks that, he was fired, especially through all the years he's been there. But he's technically been fired before, and then they brought him back. So I wouldn't be surprised if the same thing happened, because when it comes to the Spanish side of WWE, the man is a legend and everybody loves him. So wish the best of luck to him. WWE Hall of Famers Devon Dudley said he can never wrestle again following spinal surgery that fused his L4, L5, and L6 spinal segments. The man is still backstage, so he still is going to be a part of the WWE, but it does suck that we won't be able to see him do all his crazy flops, especially when he gets hit with a chair and that man just goes all the way off. But we won't be seeing any more 3Ds, unfortunately. But thank you for all the fun. Thank you for all the TLC matches. And hey, man, testify. Moving on. Former WWE star and ambassador Kairi Sane has returned to stardom in Japan. Now using the name Kairi, the former WWE Women's Tag Team Champion appeared at Friday's Stardom press conference and confirmed she will be returning to the promotion, according to F4W Online. She was announced for the Stardom World Climax shows on Saturday, March 26th and Sunday, March 27th at the Sumo Hall in Tokyo, Japan. During the interview, wrong one. On Twitter, ECW announced EC3, Adam Scherr, aka also known as Braun Strowman, to launch a new wrestling company, and the TV deal announcement is imminent. He wrote in the statement, the Control Your Narrative concept has manifested itself from an idea to a movement to a live touring / televised wrestling company. We collectively, as wrestlers, can no longer wait. We cannot wait on companies that answer only to shareholders, companies where billionaires collect talent as toys. We know who he's throwing shots at right there. Companies that fire their entire roster for the mistakes their office made. We know who they're talking about there. Companies that are complacent in presentation. All talent featured at CYN have asked to be a part of the project. These competitors range from known to unknown, including names like Matt Cardona, Moose, John Scholar, Matt Sadal, Marina Schaefer, Waston Blake, Matt Taven, and more. On March 31st, CYN Dallas, the much anticipated debut of Killer Cross takes place. The one thing missing to CYN to become who they are supposed to be was a proper platform and network distribution. This has been achieved. So it looks like we are going to have another wrestling company. They say they have a TV deal. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a streaming TV deal, something like Roku. Um, but don't be surprised if that's happening. I get a question. Fizz, are you watching Bear Arrow on Peacock? No, I'm not. I heard the show's good. I'm just due to like I'm a huge film buff. I'm a huge TV buff. But I've gotten a little tired of the reboots of rebooting something and then making it darker, bringing some edge to it. I'm just tired of it. The show can be great. I might watch it when it hits around season 3, but right now I don't have time for it. I watch too many shows to begin with at the moment, so I just don't have time for it. And I'm also doing my Black History movie watch this month, so I don't have time for any of it. So I'll see it in the future if it's still good. But till then, nah, I haven't been watching it. So that's where we are with Bel Air. During an interview with Into the Danger Zone with Chris Denker, Nixon Newell, formerly known as Tegan Knox, was asked about the story behind a release from WWE last year. In that whole interview, she stated that I'm a 5'6" brunette girl covered in tattoos. I feel like, as we can see watching the product now, it's very much diva era coming back. I feel I was, I just always felt like I was always on the chopper block as such, even if I could wrestle. I was not much of a personality enough for them or a character enough for them to keep my job, but I was always kept as the girl next door, and I'm not the girl next door. I just always had that feeling of I'm not what they're looking for. As soon as they split me and Shotzi up, I was like, yeah, I'm on the block next. And that's exactly what happened. I feel like two things happened. Um, her injuries always killed her momentum. She always had she always had the great storyline in her feud with like her best friend. But due to the injuries, it kept being a stop and go. And unfortunately, it pretty much just took her out of everything. And the fact that she just constantly kept getting hurt did not help. Um, and I also felt like it kind of harmed Dakota Kai because it just seemed like they were always going to have this big product, this big blow up between them, and it never happened due to everything going on with her. On top of that, yeah, I feel that like the second thing was Triple H. Triple H saw the greatness in her. He saw it when she was with the Mae Young Classic. He saw what she could be, but once you bring her up, it's out of his hands. Um, and yeah, I kind of feel like they have been because just look at Shotzi. She went from the Shotzi Blackheart that we know to now kind of sensualize Shotzi. And, it was kind of weird looking at the Royal Rumble this year and just how many former divas were in it. It was kind of crazy, but that's because of WWE. They fired so many of their roster that they have now that we ended up in this place. And they have no idea what to do. And yeah, she just felt like she was going to be left on the side of the road. And that's exactly what happened. To the next one, Corey Graves and Carmella revealed on their Bear With Us podcast that a reality show called Corey and Carmella is coming to WWE's YouTube channel on February 28th. The project is a collaboration between WWE and Glass Entertainment Group. A pilot episode was shot and has been split up into 10 4-minute episodes, all which are expected to be available to watch on February 28th. They've been working on bringing this idea to fruition since the coronavirus pandemic began 2 years ago. Hopefully, it's not as messy as when they were both on Total Divas. And now we end with Jim Ross. As a guest on the J. Martin Ramon podcast, AEW commentator Jim Ross spoke about his status with AEW and how he'd like to end his career with the company. Ross mentioned how he loves what he's doing for AEW despite hitting 70 years old this past January. In the interview, he stated, "My contract's up soon and I'm not looking to go anywhere. But nonetheless, I'm 70. I've got to be realistic at some point, my crazy ass life, because I haven't been. My late wife were here. She said, amen to that because he's a character. I'm loving what I'm doing. Still fun for me, guys. As long as you keep that element in your place of work, you're all right. You're doing good." I wouldn't be surprised this is his last year. I can see Tony Khan signing another contract for about a few more months and then slowly taking him out. Jim Ross has a lot of slip ups, and I feel like AEW commentary rise is going to a different place. So due to that, I imagine that it won't be long where JR is no longer there, and I kind of feel like this is probably going to be the last year for JR as a commentator for AEW. Now let's move on because the Wrestling Absorber newsletter put their awards out today, and let's go over some of them. We have Tag Team of the Year, the Young Bucks. When it comes to when it comes to the best television announcer, at 10 we have John Ennick. We had the person I just talked about before. Number 9, Jim Ross. Number 8, Jay Church. Number 7, Ian Riccoboni. 6, Taz. 5, Stuart Fulton. 4, Pat McAfee, who is the highest WWE person. 3, Tony Schiavone. I always say Tony Schiavone. I don't even know why I do that. Tony Schiavone. Number 2, Kevin Kelly. And number 1, Shut Up Excalibur. When we get to the women, on the women's side, we have at number 10, Serena Deeb. At number 9, Tam Nakano. Number 8, Yamashita. Number 7, Becky Lynch. Number 6, Deonna Purrazzo from Impact Wrestling. Number 5, Charlotte Flair, the highest WWE wrestler. Number 4, Bianca Belair. Number 3, Suri. Number 2, the highest AEW wrestler. And the second AEW wrestler on the list, Britt Baker, DMD. And the best wrestler in the world to them on the women's side, Utami Hashishita. She had a match of the year candidate against Suri, who's at number 3. If you can find that match, make sure you do, because it is a banger. Also, we're going to go to the men's side. And for the men, for the Luthez Press Awards / the Ric Flair Award, we have at number 10, Jon Moxley. At number 9, Nakajima. At number 8, Adam Page. At number 7, Suri. At number 6, CM Punk. At number 5, Utami comes right back as the highest woman on the list. Utami Hashishita. At number 4, we got Bryan Danielson. At number 2, we got Shingo Takagi. At number 2, the highest WWE wrestler, of course, it is your tribal chief, Roman Reigns. And at number 1, it's Kenny Omega for Wrestler of the Year. Now, because it's Wrestling Observer Newsletter, we know how they feel about Kenny Omega. So, you know, it is what it is. But let me know what you think of these and who should be number 1 in all of these. I would have put Roman Reigns at number 1, but that's just me. Gruss says these lists are a joke. I wish you would elaborate on that. Because I would say Utami is the best women wrestler in the world right now. So that's correct. But I will say Roman Reigns should most likely be number 1 on that list. Because the man's been on fire ever since he's been back. Now, let's talk about what's going on tonight in the world of wrestling. WWE Elimination Chamber Go Home edition of SmackDown on Fox will air tonight, taped last week from the Smoothie King Center in New Orleans. We have a face-off segment with WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns in Gruss's favorite wrestler, the WWE Hall of Famer Bill Goldberg. We have Ricochet versus Sheamus. Sami Zayn versus the WWE Intercontinental Champion Shinsuke Nakamura with the title on the line. And WWE already spoiled it, so you know who's going to win it. Ivar versus SmackDown Tag Team Champion Jimmy Uso. We have a promo segment featuring Drew McIntyre with Madcap Moss and Happy Baron Corbin. Elimination Chamber contract signing from Ronda Rousey and Naomi versus Sonya Deville and SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte, where they gotta work around the whole horrible debacle that happened during it because Charlotte missed her cue once again. Now let's move over to Rampage. The latest edition of AEW's Friday Night Show comes our way on another tape from Nashville Municipal Auditorium in Nashville, Tennessee. The main event tonight is Trent Beretta versus Mr. Forbidden Door himself, Jay White. This is White's debut for his first match on All Elite Wrestling. We also have Serena Deeb's 5-minute rookie challenge, Adam Cole versus 10 of the Dark Order, and Dante Martin versus Powerhouse Hobbs in a qualifying match for the Face of the Revolution ladder match. If you want to know what our thoughts of, make sure to tune in and listen to Laylo break down what happens on SmackDown and what happens on AEW Rampage. Also, be sure to come back later this evening to see me, Laylo, and Trav as we pick the winners for tomorrow's Elimination Chamber pay-per-view in Saudi Arabia. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate everybody that's in here. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you're here with me, and I appreciate you for that. I'll see y'all later. Until then, have a good one.
Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to know when we go live next. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Wrestling on We, and thanks for watching.